Okay. Well, then we can do language and build tool outreach. Anything new to say here? And I say this that might also be at some point in the future meeting to kind of go through this and update these statuses where relevant and yeah, kind of.
I did send an email to someone from Python.org.
Okay.
He was introduced to me by David, um, and his name is Seth Larson. And let's see, it's really just about the PYC format, which I don't really think is actually defined. But
Oh, really?
so that was my initial impression, that it wasn't defined, because I couldn't find a language spec for it. So I'm going to be pursuing that. I don't think it's the end of the world, to be quite frank, because I think it's one of these things where there's no spec for it, but everyone does it the same way.
Mm.
And that's probably not going to change. But if it does change, I don't see it, being the end of the world. Well, maybe the end of the world, but probably not.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I'm pursuing that, and that's just someone, again, introduced by DPP and just followed up with him.
Yeah. Okay, good. Anyone else? Okay. Do we have any demos this week? Or questions from implementers? Okay. Then active discussions. So I know that this doodle poll was sent out. I think it looks like maybe a couple of people had answered it. I'm not sure if okay, so five people have responded so far.
Yeah, I didn't see it until you just mentioned it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so this was just from last week. So, I figure Frederick's not here anyway, so like we can definitely leave it open for longer. This is basically to solicit options for an alternative time, just because I think the new time, I know it's kind of difficult for Ava, and Ed now has a partial overlap, so he's having to leave partway through. So we were interested in the possibility of finding a different time. So yeah, linked right here in the meeting notes. Okay, this is where I have a little mea culpa. I was supposed to have an initial draft of the use case document by today. I do not. I have not had the chance to work on it. So that's fully on me, but I need to sit down and actually do a draft. Goal is, at this point, I'd like to have it done by the end of this week. And if we can have a discussion about it next week, I think that would be great. But at the moment, I don't have anything to discuss for it. And then
Tangential to that, one thing that's occurred to me is we don't have a definition of success, and which would, be an indicator of, when it is we've completed what we need to do.
Yeah.
And I think, lacking that, we sometimes may be, floundering or not moving, as efficiently as we could. Not that we have to move efficiently. This is all volunteer stuff, but I think it would help quite a lot.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. And I know, so like in the context of if we were to ever formally be a group within, let's say, the OpenSSF, more sort of officially organized that way, like they generally require with the charter of working groups, or then often even for special interest groups below the working groups, require a description of what the goal is, what the end state is of the effort that you're working on, which I think is probably sensible. And you're right that we don't have one. This might be So this maybe this points to kind of a lack of an additional document, because we kind of have the spec, which obviously is in draft state. We're working on this use case document. But I think maybe we could call it something different names. Could be a charter, it could be a vision document or goal document. But something that basically describes, what the working group is for, what our intended outcome is. Maybe
So yeah, so the definition of success is usually a fairly short, it's usually never more than a paragraph. Or it could be a set of bullet lists, but it's a way of just saying, when I mean, I've got a definition of success somewhere that I wrote something else, probably right in front of me. Definite. A set of products is tested and compared for technical merit against a set of criteria that will meet our current SBOM requirements. That's my definition of success statement for the company I'm working for software bill of materials.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I wonder, would it be, because there are a couple different ways we could do this. One would be to just make this a point conversation and a future meeting, give people a chance to ruminate on it. And I'm thinking that maybe a good way to do it, if I make a Google Doc that is basically a place for people to put their thought on what that vision could be, that then becomes a basis for comparison and synthesis to develop one that the project could adopt.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds fine. Yeah.
Sure. Okay, I can take the action for that. Okay, so I can do that. Okay. Anything more to say on this one? All right. I don't think there's anything new for the SPDX spec references. This is something Ed is going to work on, just getting these updates in for the SPDX 2.3 and SPDX 3 documentation to basically use our new set of terminology. So that just hasn't happened yet. So I can ping Ed about it. Let's see. Okay, there was something new here for the non-embedding case for artifact input manifests. So let me open up the tracking issue. So there've been multiple different discussions of how to handle the non-embedding context of OmniBOR. You're not going to embed the manifest data into the actual binary that's being produced. And Yankuya, I saw that you'd had this comment yesterday, which I figured might be worth discussion, because it's introducing possibly a new piece of terminology.
Yeah, so I think it's just an alternate term that may be the same thing, just sometimes don't want to confuse just with different term for this concept. Yeah.
Okay, so just, and I saw that you made the comment, but I hadn't read through it in detail, so let's see.
Yeah.
Artifact dependency fragment for the saved OmniBOR manifest mapping file in non-embedding mode. So mapping file meaning the file that maps the artifacts to their manifests.
Right.
And oh yeah, so it has the single output file and then a list of input files with the Gitoid.
I think should be almost the same. So the concept of the thing is almost the same. Just sometimes we focus on, for example, artifact dependency things. Sometimes we focus on the mapping of input output. But essentially, it's some kind of relationship between the input and output, right? We call it manifest or document or dependency fragment. It is sometimes people focusing, emphasis on different aspect like that. So Just want to provide some opinion or input on this. Don't
Right.
need
So
to change anything just because it's comment. Yeah.
yeah, no, so it's interesting. So this basically means that because I think the other thing that we had at least at one point considered was that that there would be some sort of inherent way, perhaps through well, like a file, like the file's name, to associate the manifest file to the thing that it's the manifest for, to like the artifact that it's the manifest for. But this basically says instead having a mapping file.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter exact form of the file or right. As long we have this kind of artifact dependency fragment for this whole like build step or right.
Mhm.
As long we have this, I think then the information is complete. Then we can do a lot of post-processing to generate the OmniBOR dependency thing. These things just mostly after I create the BOM dynamic lab Python script, the Python lab, those kind of for the runtime dependency tree. I think that as long some tool, any tool, if they can create this kind of ADF artifact dependency fragments, as long we have that, then we should be able to handle it, process it, generate everything we want. So this, but this is basically for the non-embedding mode. Yeah, so something is similar, I think, if we can abstract more to cover both the build time dependency and runtime dependency. That will be more, flexible for our framework.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it doesn't matter where we put those files, as long as we have some agreed location to find such information, then it should be fine.
Yeah. Okay. And so I'm comparing this to, and I'm sort of refreshing the memory of like the context of what Ed was thinking here. Excuse me. Where if you have, foo.o, it's got this artifact ID and it's got this input manifest ID. That you basically have, yeah. And so in the same directory you have, he's imagining foo.o.omnibor, which basically has the, this prefix on the first line that says that it's SHA-1 and it's a blob, and then has the
for
hash,
the non-embedding, I think we don't need to create the BOM reference at all. We just keep the blob. It should be sufficient. We can always do the post-processing to create the BOM ID. So right now, for BOMs, we don't, for non-embedding mode, we don't need to generate the BOM ID at all on the fly for the build. We just keep the raw information of the artifact, the single output artifact and a list of input artifact. We don't need to generate any BOM ID. So
I see. So this part, basically the input manifest ID,
yes,
is not necessary.
Right. That's not necessary. We can always generate that after build, post-processing. Yeah. So also we are flexible to do according to different criteria. For example, we can generate a new manifest ID for unitary transform or not. I mean, if we do the post-processing, we have different options to specify the behavior we want. At build time, you usually only have one default option, right? So for non-embedding mode, we are more flexible actually. We just need to record the basic raw information. The only difference from the manifest is that the manifest contains the BOM ID, but this ADF, we only record the minimum raw information. without any BOM ID, that kind of thing. So that we're
Okay.
flexible later to generate any way we want. Yeah. So maybe we're pointing out the difference. The main difference is that BOM ID is not necessary for the ADF. Yeah.
So I'm writing up some notes here, and feel free to issue corrections compared to the original proposal.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We can either generate on the fly, or we can do it later, do the post-processing. And also we have multiple options to choose the behavior actually. So that's more flexible.
Yeah. And then
so it will
make a note here.
Have some performance benefit if we don't generate BOM ID on the fly. Yeah, that will be a good example to check this concept.
Yeah.
Yonki, when you mentioned that this case you only record the raw log, should there be a mention of what is that information that should be recorded so that they can be used for post-processing, or is that already, did I miss that?
Yeah, so then we have the output artifact ID, the gateway ID output artifact, and list of the gateway ID.
Yeah, that is what is currently recorded in metadata, right?
No, the gateway ID is not metadata, it's required, right? Only the file path, build command, that kind of thing, they are metadata. That's DYN lib, great. So so others are metadata, but the gateway ID of the input
is not needed. You're saying
output,
only the names of the input and the output. That alone is enough. I mean, the location, that would include the location also, right? Otherwise, you cannot compute the BOM IDs later.
No, the BOM ID, you don't need to do the metadata, right? And then you have the gateway ID, then you have everything. If you check that example, you will see exactly what's there. Okay. For the BOM's dynlib.py, it will generate the ADF raw log file. There's no BOM ID at all in that raw log file. But later, the BOM should create BOM. The script will automatically create the exact, the correct BOM ID for all the artifacts.
Okay. No, the reason I mentioned is if this all needs to become a part of the spec, then that detail would also need to be added to make it complete. Otherwise, it's not obvious what would be the minimum information that needs to be recorded at by the tool so that post-processing can be effectively done without any loss of data.
We will agree on that, then put into spec, right?
Sure.
But I think minimum is just you don't need any metadata, just so I think if you go through that example, you'll clearly understand it actually.
Okay, sure. I haven't done that, so I'll do that.
Okay, so I've placed my comment here with a little bit of information, a link to the sort of sample implementation, and then some open questions.
Yep, perfect.
Cool. Okay, I feel like this should capture what we've covered.
Yeah.
Okay,
Very
good.
Yeah.
Good.
Thanks.
Yeah, happy to. All right, so this is still work in progress, but we've made some good steps. Okay, for the minimum viable governance, I know that we caught this right a little bit at the end with Ava last week, and she'd had some thoughts around the email in the code of conduct, to the add contact details code of conduct thing. In particular, that ideally you don't want it to be just an inbox, but that there be some indication of who has access to that inbox. So further discussion to have there, but I should add the note here. Yeah, let's to underline everything. Further discussion to have there, though. And then, so this, we have a couple of things here which I think are really tied to proposals and feedback that that Jeremy's given. So I don't know that it makes sense to try and proceed with discussing them without Jeremy. And then similarly, the note on strong and weak reproducibility. I'd like to include Ava in this discussion since that was their point. Similarly, I don't think we have anything more to say about the PAS fast track for ISO standardization. Is there anything that we missed here? Let me actually go to the OmniBOR spec. Oh, I think these actually got fixed. Maybe just didn't get closed. But Bharathi, I believe you had fixed these, the duplication in OmniBOR DIR precedents.
Yes, it's all merged also, so they
Yeah.
can be taken out.
Oh, I see. It's marked as merged. It just didn't get closed. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, good to close stuff. Okay. So there's some more stuff in here. This one, oh yeah, this was something I'd added. I guess I hadn't added as a topic in the meetings, but we've in the spec right now we say SHA-1 and we say SHA-256, but we don't make especially clear that we mean the versions of them that are done by Git. Basically, that it's prefixed with an ASCII string with the type of Git object, and then a space, the size, null terminator. I think I actually have this described a little bit wrong. But basically that it's sort of Git SHA-1 and Git SHA-256. We probably want to update the spec to reflect that.
Yeah, I agree. That's a good point.
Yeah, so I can take that as a to-do for myself, in fact, here. There we go. Are there other open issues? Oh yeah, this was something from Jeremy. So I think that's it then. So maybe we can just end at the half-hour mark.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Sure.
All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.